know you've had a long soccer career, but given playing domestically and the World Cup, how fair is it to say that this might be one of your more anticipated seasons that you embark on?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fair to say that, and I said this last year, that it's the strangely 17th year as a professional, and it's probably the biggest one, which sounds really strange, rolling off the tongue, but it's important. It's huge. It's it's everything really that as players you work towards, and to have an opportunity to obviously have a good season, to potentially be a part of a World Cup, in your home country is, I mean, it's probably more than you really can wrap your head around. If you had just thrown it at me, so it's big, but the balance is what's the tricky part.
I know that there's been a lot of talk about who is no longer standing next to you now that you've gone through a whole preseason, seen Andrew, seen some of the younger guys. How do you feel, not just about who's next to you, but about how you guys as a tandem will be able to defend this year at that same level?
Yeah, it'll be, there's a lot of work that's gone on, and everybody who's here, myself, Privs, and even the guys who are coming in, we've all kind of been around. Obviously Henry is a little bit different. He's newer, but we all know each other. We all know each other's tendencies. Privs and I played together last year a little bit, and so it's not difficult. It's just getting those repetitions together, which we have been doing, and the making sure that the game understanding and the communication is high and at a really, really good level, because that's really what sees you through a lot of tough moments.
Brian?
Tim, I want to kind of take you into the way back machine a little bit, because you're going to St. Louis, your hometown.
Yep.
I actually had an opportunity to go to Mac Herman this year for that award ceremony and talk to Kevin Kalish.
Okay.
He said he coached you when you were in the U14s, and you played a lot on tennis courts, and he prides that in saying like that's one of the reasons you're so good on the ball. Do you mind kind of taking us back a little bit to St. Louis and that time with Kevin Kalish and some of the other coaches in the early days?
Yeah, there was, as we talk about the soccer landscape changing a lot between the last 24 years and that time. We didn't have our own training facility, so we trained wherever we could find space, public parks, tennis courts, warehouses, actually, concrete floors, and we weren't using futsal balls, so we weren't using the heavy. We were using actual game, match balls. So, it teaches you to have a better feel. It teaches you to be, more technical, because if you aren't, perfect in the way that you pass, or your touch or your movements, you're either slipping or sliding, or the ball is going to be bouncing everywhere, and you're not going to be able to do the things you want to do. So, I definitely credit it a lot with the reason being the player that I am. And had I, had the facilities that we have now, would I be the same player? I don't know. Probably not, to be completely honest with you. So, I mean, it's a big and a huge part of my upbringing, and a huge part of the reason that I am the player I am today.
Is this the first time you'll have played a professional match in St. Louis?
For club, yes. I've played, I think I'm maybe four games with the national team. So it'll be a little bit different. I'm obviously with the national team, you play there, and you're on the good side. And here we are going there, and I'm on the for them, I'm on the bad side. So it'll be a little bit different, but I think for me, having played there with the national team, I think this makes it easier. I think if this would have been the first time going back there to play there in a professional capacity, then we might be having a little bit of a different conversation. But I'm pretty comfortable, knowing the ins and outs of the whole, the surrounding area and how the lead up to the games and the stadium and the changing room. So really comfortable going back there.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Carol?
What is it gonna look like for you to be there? Like, are we getting grandmothers out
Nah.
to see you, or aunts and uncles?
No,
Or?
I'm all business all the time, and that may come as a surprise to a lot of people. But even with the national team, I tell people, listen, I'm there to do a job. The off season is the time for visits and catching up and enjoying company. When I'm working, and that's kind of the way I've always approached a lot of these things. A lot of games when you play away, listen, you're in this world for 17 years. You tend to meet a lot of people and know a lot of different people in a lot of different places, and it's the same everywhere I go. I'm fully focused on making sure that I'm as well prepared as I possibly can be, and that means no hanging out, no kissing babies, hugging grannies, none of that. It's let's focus on the game. Let's let's go there and do our job, and then we can organize something when the season finishes.
Do you each get like 4 tickets or something like that?
I mean, there's a ticket allotment, yeah. Again, I tend to ignore people when they reach out for tickets, because I think it's just it's a for players, like, some guys love it, and some guys it just feels like you're organizing someone else's day. So yeah, we do get a ticket allotment. I think there are a few guys who have asked if they could have my tickets, and I've said happily they can have them. So that's fine.
Yeah. So when you look at your season, do you compartmentalize, like, this is the national team, this is Charlotte? Like, how do you mentally look at it?
I mean, it's cliche, but I do kind of look at the here and now. It's hard not to have an eye towards the World Cup, but at the same time, the way you kind of have to look at it is you're not going to get to the World Cup if you're not focused on what you're doing day in, day out at the club. So there are, in terms of compartmentalizing, I can do that once that kind of the window hits, right? So I think we play, I actually don't know who we play in March. So whenever that last game is in March, before the March break, like, I'm full focused on here until the end of that game. And then immediately as that game finishes, but no offense to everyone here, but like, this is now put to the side, and the national team, assuming you're in there, is kind of where your entire focus is, and then you switch it back again. So it's tricky. It's a lot. It can be draining. I think it's also why it's, for me, it's so special to be a part of both, because you're having the privilege and the honor to do that, and so I tend to put my full focus into where I am in that moment, not where do I want to get to, or where would I rather be, because it's if you're not focused on where you're at, then the other parts aren't gonna be there.
Mike?
Tim, it sounds like you have. It sounds like the way you are prepping for the World Cup, in your mind, is actually pretty easy. But I know it's not, because you got to go. But the mental focus that you have,
Yep.
the way you just kind of laid it out. So how are you able to mentally keep the summer at bay, knowing that there's the better than the great chance that you'll be representing the country in the middle of the summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me now because I've fallen kind of victim to that in the past of looking too far ahead, or thinking, okay, that I have this wrapped up, or this is where I'm going to be, and that's guaranteed. I realized a long time ago that you know, and again, I've had that happen to me where I've had one eye too far forward, and in sport, like, the rug just gets pulled right out from under you, and you miss an opportunity that you know, maybe you were not focused on the here and now, and because you weren't focused on the here and now, you weren't looking or feeling or playing your best. So it comes from learning, it comes from experience, having the opposite. And so now, you know, I've been to a World Cup. I achieved that goal, and so I'm actually pretty calm and comfortable with, you know, where I am as a player, where I am as a professional, and knowing that I'm going to do everything I possibly can to play in another World Cup, but also knowing that it's not really fully down to my decision. You know, what I do day to day is what's going to get me there, and if it does get me there, great. Everything I do day to day that you know, to try to get there may not be enough, and I think that's kind of why I'm so at ease with you know, being able to handle both.
Maybe the hard part of all that, though, is the physical demand, because you want to be at the top of your
Yep.
game with the club, but you also want to be at that same level, or even perhaps as high as you can be once the World Cup gets here. So again, is it compartmentalizing and finding, are you taking steps and ramping, or
Yeah.
but you kind of need to also be at,
Yep.
at peak to start things off in St. Louis?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably the most difficult part, is that you want to have a preseason, and granted, I think everybody in here is aware that my preseason wasn't exactly a normal preseason, but you want to have a preseason where you're ramping up and you're ready to go, you're fit. It's going to take a few games to get going. It's going to take a few games for everybody to feel like they are, you know, kind of what we call it in zone or on autopilot, where they feel like they're doing everything right, even if things aren't going, you know, the way that they want them to. Again, drawing on experience, I felt like last year, leading into the Gold Cup, was as I was getting closer to the Gold Cup, I was feeling better and better and better, and I think that was kind of the same with the team. And then we come back from the summer, you know, have a good Gold Cup, and come back from the summer, and the team is, you know, really fit, really in a good place, and we rattled nine wins off, and I felt like I was better from the mid-season point onwards than the beginning of the season. Now you still have to do everything you possibly can to win games and feel as good as you can to start the season. But that's kind of where I look at it. I'm like, okay, well, you have to build, because it is such a long season, and with the travel and then the back and forth between national team and club, you have to do and have to look at every aspect to be able to build and ramp up, you know, throughout the year.
Steve?
Well, the first year that Dean was here, it was about solidifying the defense, and they did a great job with that. Last year, it was about getting more offense generated, and that was successful as well, but with some consequence to, you know, the defense in terms of clean sheets and, you know, getting some results. Where is that going into this season? Where is the emphasis? Is it to get tighter on defense while still keeping the advantages of offense, as if possible?
Well, we had 13 clean sheets, which was one more than the year before. But I think it's somewhere in between. Obviously, they've looked at each year, and as you said, they've kind of looked at the different areas of the team and the field. And now, you know, you add in a player of Luka's caliber, someone who can really progress the ball. Again, we have basically an other than Addy leaving, Pribs has played a lot of games as we'll say technically he's still a young center back in the league, but he's not young, right? He's not a young center back. He's got plenty of games and plenty of experience under his belt that he's able to step in right away. So we have a back four, you know, and guys coming in who are very experienced and know how to, you know, get the job done on the back end, and it's connecting those two. And obviously Ash has been really, really good at that. And now you add in, like I said, Luka, who is good at that as well. And it's just being able to find that balance. We know that our attackers can go and win games. That's why people pay the money to come watch the games. They want to see attackers who have flair, who have are smart with the ball and score goals and make great plays and assists. And so, they've done that, and now I think we really probably have one of the more or most complete teams that the club has had in its short period of time. And I think we're all excited about that. We've been ranting and raving in preseason how good everybody looks and how fit everybody looks, and everybody's ready to go, and I think we've found the right balance with the guys that we have here now to match that kind of attacking threat with the defensive stability.
You've played every level of the game at this point, and as by your own admission, you've been doing it for a while. Going into the first game of the season, of any season, whether it's college stuff, is there any? I don't want, because you're very laid back. It's like not
Nerves,
so much jitters.
Nerves,
Yeah,
yes,
but
absolutely.
I mean, coming in just because preseason is one thing, but until you prove it,
Always.
in the heat of it. So if you could address that, it's like how you approach that first game, and just.
Personally, I approach the first game as if it's my first game professionally. I think you still have that. If you still have that pressure, you still have that desire, you still have the will and the want to perform and do well, you should have that kind of feeling of nerves and that energy and a little bit of that anxiety. We're all human, and we want to perform, we want to do well, and the guys, in my opinion, playing with so many guys throughout the years, the guys who have that, even with it being their 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th season, whatever number they've been playing, they have that, and there's a reason that they're still playing at that level. It's because they do want, they do care, they do want to do well, and they have that nervous, kind of excited, giddy energy to get back out there and do it for real. Like you said, preseason is preseason. I don't think anybody really feels anything other than heavy legs, heavy minds from the double sessions and the gym sessions and the fitness to get up to speed. But there's always, for me personally, there's always that little bit of nervous energy going into games and going into especially a first game of the season, and that's important to feel. I want to feel that, because if I'm not feeling that, then you might be looking at it's time to maybe start thinking about stepping away.
That's when it becomes a job.
And that's when it becomes a job and a chore, and it probably doesn't mean as much to you anymore. And that's kind of always the way I look at each season approaching. It's like, am I nervous about it? Well, yeah, I still want to do well. I still want to, I care. I want that first game to go well, and then you build from there. If I don't care, I probably need to start thinking about picking up another career.
You're playing with house money.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what do you think we should know about this defense that we probably don't know with, new faces, new signees, and unproven or questions that may come from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I think David Schnegg is gonna push Harry, quite a bit this year, and that's been a topic of conversation amongst us as players. But they also are really good. The communication between everybody. We're kind of a one big unit, right? There's obviously four of us that are playing, but with Henry coming in, with newer guys, younger guys coming in and trying to learn the way we play, the way we want to defend, the way we want to build up. There's a lot of communication and a lot of understanding that goes into that. So I think for me personally, I'm watching the young guys work in preseason. They've done really, really well, and I think they'll probably surprise quite a few people this year when they get into games and get minutes, is how actually far along they are. compared to their age.
And speaking of those young guys, Dean talks glowingly about Morrison and then new guys like Will and Andrew Johnson. How do you want to help them out along the path during their rookie year or now with the first team, or do you just want to go through it to the fire and just help you out along the way?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Listen, I was very fortunate when I first came into the league to have a lot of veterans in the changing room that helped me when I wanted it, when I needed it. Very good at understanding when guys need a little pep talk, when guys need an arm around their shoulder, or when they're looking for information, but they might be a little bit too reserved to ask for it. I think that the great thing is that with these young guys now, not one of them is afraid to ask for help, and I think that puts them in a much stronger position in terms of understanding. If you just sit there and you watch, okay, that's one thing to understand based on visual, but what are other guys seeing? Because everybody has different viewpoints. Everybody has different things that they see when in the run of play, when you're defending, when you have the ball. So they're great at asking questions, and right now in preseason they've gone through the fire with everybody, as you said. But there's been moments where they're able to ask questions. We're able to get into small groups in between whatever drills that we're doing, and they're asking questions about what the older guys are seeing and what we've seen previously. So it's been a good balance, and I think they're well prepared to contribute this year for sure.
Thanks.
We'll go online to Charlie Bowman. We'll wrap up with Carol.
Hey Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your time as always. Stop me if you're tired of hearing this phrase, but Mauricio Pochettino has gotten us familiar with this concept that he likes of picking not the best players but the right players. And I just wonder what that means to you, and if that's something that's been a theme maybe around the national team lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have so many options to choose from, right, and you have, as you say, the best players, what constitutes the best player? Everybody has their own opinions. This game is fully formed and based on opinions. 11 guys starting is based on a coach's opinion, and so they have, and all coaches have their opinions on. Okay, yes, he may be the best technically, or he may be the best defensively, or he may be the best 1v1, whatever have you. There's also different connections, and as we know, Maurizio always talks about connections on and off the field, and the best players are the best players, but the right players in terms of, I relate it to a puzzle. We're as a team we're 25 to 30 guys who are basically a puzzle, and now the challenge is to put those pieces together to form what would be the full the full puzzle, and understanding how each piece fits together. And I think that's what he means by the right players, right? How does everybody fit together? What are their connections with with the guys they play with, or the guys they don't play next to but are sitting with off the field. And it becomes all about connections, and that's where I understand, and the conversations that we have as players, what he means is the connections that we form, and that can be with the best and the right players.
Along those lines, I know you're focused on Charlotte first and foremost, as you said earlier, but do you keep an eye on other players around the league, especially maybe national team guys, to see how they're doing with their clubs?
Yeah, for sure. I think as an older guy, the oldest guy, I do, I don't necessarily check in terms of messaging, but I pay attention to what everybody's doing, because I think it's important. When if you see that a guy's having an unbelievable year or an unbelievable game, you send him a little message. If you see a guy picked up a little bit of a knock or has an injury, I'll send a little message to just give them a little bit. Hey, listen, like keep your head up. It's a little step back, and you'll be good to go. So yeah, I tend to pay attention. I don't watch a whole lot of games, but I do pick up on different things that are happening around with all the guys in all the leagues, because as we know, this sport is so readily accessible and on all platforms now that when your guys are doing well or when they're having a little bit of a rough time. So I definitely pay attention as much as I can with having 3 young kids, but yeah, it's more about making sure guys are in the right frame of mind and headspace than what they're doing on or off the field.
Thank you.
And lastly, with Carol.
Just want to follow up on your niggle, as Dean says. Is that, it was a calf thing? Is that what it was?
Yes, it was a calf thing.
It's a hard field problem? Like, no, okay.
We're not allowed to use the field as an excuse, so the field is not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest, I think I did too much in the off season, and I always tend to do more than I probably should. I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I did a lot in the off season and probably didn't take enough time off. I had the national team, and I think I only took 5 to 7 days. I know I came in here for a few of the media stuff and said I wouldn't be taking much time off, and I ended up taking less time off than I should have. And I'm not a spring chicken anymore. That catches up to you. So I had a little bit of a calf issue. We were worried that it was gonna take me into a few weeks into the season, but I'm like Benjamin Button and was able to reverse that and get it to a good place where I got some good minutes last week down in Coachella, and feeling good, feeling ready, feeling fit, and yeah, nothing damaging anymore, and nothing that should be a recurrence.
What's your availability looking for Saturday?
Only Henry Kessler unavailable for the game. Everybody else is fighting fit and ready.
Do you have a clear prognosis on Kessler?
He's got a muscle strain in the hamstring. It will put him out for a number of weeks. I'm not sure how long exactly, but yeah, it's unfortunate because he was looking good in training as well.
You mentioned earlier this week about the transitional nature of this league that has ramped up maybe a little bit more conditioning. Is that more of an advent of data? Is that an advent of just your eyes? What led you to kind of make that adjustment?
I think that's always a bit of both. You use the data, but you judge with your eyes as well. I think I said when I first came, the makeup of the players that we had needed grass to run into, so they needed to be able to run at high speed for long distances, and the way we've progressed and as a club, with the type of players that we've brought in as well, we want to be able to do both sides of the game, with and without the ball. I think we're really good without the ball. I think we know the game and understand what we're after. With the ball, we're progressing still, and using that data in my eyes I felt that some of our numbers were lower than they should have been. So we've pushed them a little bit more this pre-season.
How different are you from previous iterations of this team, and where do you want to be even more different in terms of what you want to see more of?
I want us to be better with the ball. I want us to control games with and without the ball. I think over the last 2 seasons we've controlled it without the ball really well. We've just been a bit wasteful at times in possession. I feel as a team with the work that we've done that we can actually mix it a little bit more now. So if a team comes to high press us, we know we've got the players with the capabilities to play over or through the press. And teams that have a deep block will be patient enough on the ball to be able to unlock them.
Carol?
How much do you like or dislike seeing Westy help in the box? with center backs, defending right up the middle there.
Yeah, I like Westie's game has been, before when he was at Burnley and before at Aston Villa, he played in a 2 and he was a midfielder that would get box to box. I think coming towards the latter years of his career, he's probably stayed back a little bit more and helped us control games, with his technical ability and his vision. So, purposely last week we wanted him to build in a 3 with our 2 centre backs, and I thought it worked well. But there'll be times when we want him to play a little bit higher as well.
Okay. I didn't know if that had to do with, you are trying to make up for Hadi being gone. You need to defend.
Yeah, no, I mean, what will help us is, now Andrew Privet will be playing on his right-hand side, which is his more comfortable side. So, the ball will be on his favoured foot a lot more. So you should see a lot more better passing from Andrew, a lot more comfortable passing as well. Tim on his favoured side as well. It gives you a bit more balance in defence, which is what we have with Addy. So Priv's coming and playing on that side will help as well.
Sorry, do I get one more? We saw the young guys sign today, Will and Andrew. Are there other of the young guys that you can tell us now, will go ahead and be with first team a good bit, or? No,
not at the moment, because we haven't made final decisions. We've made decisions on both Will and Andrew, obviously draft picks, and we need to make sure they can get some digs here, get some place to live and eat and sleep. So it was important that we got that done before the season started. Andrew's playing for Legacy as we speak now in a friendly, and Will probably play on Sunday in a friendly as well. So, but they've both come into the team and they've done well, and they both look like they've got bright futures.
Steve?
There's been a lot of changes across rosters in the East, West, and all this, particularly in the East. With you look at what DC's bringing in, Baribo going from Philly to DC, things like that. Does that concern you at all, or is this just the nature of the beast, where every season, your opposition's going to be different? And
yeah, I'll be honest, I don't pay too much attention to it. It's things that I can't control, so I don't bother worrying too much. You're obviously aware of it because you want to know what other teams are doing in and around you, but my concentration is about us and what we bring in, or what we can go and produce, and control what we're about.
And how do you feel about the depth of this squad now? I mean, with the injuries that last year, it created significant changes in what you were able to do. Do you feel that you have more depth across the board now to survive?
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for us as well. An injury to Nathan Byrne, an injury to Toff when he came in, Sullivan when he came in, hindered us, and that's been really, that was really tough for us last season. I feel like we've brought more depth in now. We've brought in Lucas, so in midfield we've got real good strength and competition for places. We've had Jack Neely and Will pushing Nathan Byrne. We've got young Morrison Adjumang, who's can go and push the centre backs as well. Brought David Schneggin, to push the likes of Toffolo as well. So, all sorts of areas now. I think we've got really good strength and good depth, and sometimes you need to change a game from the bench. Some players might just be having an off day, and you can change it. And I feel we've got the players available now to go and do that.
Kim?
Kind of a bigger picture question for you. When you took this job, you were the club's third manager in 3 years, and now you're entering year 3 of just continuity and stability, I guess. Just in entering your third year, as if you could compare and contrast it when you first took over this job, how have you seen sort of that foundation, the stability of having similar, like the same coaching staff year to year, just manifesting itself on the field with these guys?
Yeah, I think our aim is to keep improving each year. We have to keep evolving as a club, and we've finished 5th in the first year, 4th in the second year. Our aim has got to be finishing higher. We want to win trophies. That's what I came here to try and do. and we haven't gone deep into cup competitions, whether it be the MLS, US Open or Leagues Cup, and that's something that we need to change, as well as trying to win the Supporters Shield, which is a big one for me.
You talk about the depth I think you feel with this club this year. Do you feel like that might aid a little bit more in some of those cup competitions?
Yeah, definitely. You look at the schedule that we had when we were playing, certainly US Open games. I think we had 9 out of 11 games away from home. So we were sharing the workload. It would have been wrong of me to take the likes of Wilf and Westy to, I think we played North Carolina, then we played DC away. And for me, that was time for them to get a bit of a rest, being on the road so long. Number one aim is to win the Supporters Shield, but along the way you've got to go and compete for trophies as well in cup competitions. And we probably didn't have the depth for them over the last 2 years, so this year we've got to go on better.
Corey, I know it's game one, but what do you know about St. Louis and how are you going about preparing for them?
Well, fortunately for me, they were in Coachella, so I saw them play. I watched them play against Austin, so there'll be much change from last season. A new coach has gone in, they've got some new players as well. Changed the system, I think, from last season as well. Play more of a 5 at the back without the ball, but a high pressing team as well. So we can expect a team that's going to try and press us. And their first goal against Austin, I think Austin played 3 or 4 passes in their defensive third, lost it, and they scored. So we've got to be aware of where we want to play and how we want to play. We've been working on that all week.
And are any parts that you feel good and confident with, or are there other parts that you need to be to prove you more?
No, the all-round game really. I think we went from being one of the tightest teams in the first year defensively to we gave away too many big chances last year. Cali had to make some bigger saves than he did the year before. So, but that will come. We bought in, natural offensive players in Wilfried Zaha and Pep Biel. So some of the way the team played was going to change, and I think we've got a really good balance now. But only time will tell when we start playing games.
Brian?
Rodolfo Loco and Morrison Ajiman obviously sound like they've impressed you a lot. Do either of them seem like they've earned a senior roster spot? I think there's still a spot or 2 left on.
Yeah, but at the moment, Rodolfo's playing again for Legacy. He's only a young guy who's come over, and he played a couple of games for Benin in the AFCON. I watched him in them games. Did really well. He had an injury last year as well, so he's not played loads of football. So it'd be wrong, I think, to push him too quickly. So we will see where he is in probably the next month and make a decision then.
Now you've played out in Coachella a couple years now. How do you feel about that event as a preseason venue with multiple other teams around? Kind of get a familiarity with the league itself.
Yeah, no, I believe it's really, really good. We've had 3 pre-seasons with me where we've played in Coachella. The pitches are good pitches. You get good weather, and you get good opposition. A lot of teams that I wouldn't have played against before. We played Minnesota, we played San Jose, and it's really good for us to go there. 1 for bonding, 2 for the games and the quality of the games.
3 for golf. Eric?
When you get the chance.
Back to you, Dean. Just a quick question, just to revisit your build-out. How you've sort of, at least in the game against Minnesota, you played Westy in between the 2 center backs in your build-out. Is that more about changing his position a little bit, or does it have a lot to do with how you adapt Luka into the 11 and how you want to attack? Are you looking to change the way you attack?
No, so Minnesota was like a specific game where we wanted to try Westy in the 3. There's other times we've used our fullbacks in a 3, or we've used Westy or DD last year dropping into the 3 as well. pretty much we like building a 3-2. And I think with the fullbacks that we have, we need to utilise the strengths that they have, which is going forward. Toffolo, Schnegg, Nathan Byrne, Will Cleary. Jack is more of a defensive fullback if he was to play there. And get some of our really intelligent players on the ball in the pockets. So that's something that we've been working on.
And to that point, just real quick on Luka, it could have been based on the opposition, but the way you played against San Jose and against Minnesota, Luka was deeper against Minnesota. Perhaps that had to do with their pressing, which was different. But considering that he is a vertical player instinctually, do you have more or less an idea of how ideally you'd want to position him in the midfield and how far up the field?
Yeah, Luca's a progressive midfielder. He can get it on the half turn and play forward, and that's what I like about him. But he's also a good ball carrier as well. He shifts along the ground really well with the ball. But he can play, whether we play a 2 or he can play one higher if we want to play 2 8s as well. And that's what I liked about him. You got the options for him to play.
So Pepiel could be an 8?
At times, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Mike?
worries.
Dean, you talked about Coachella being good for the competition aspect of it, and you kind of raced by the bonding aspect of it. You guys went to Florida, then to California, so it's just your own bubble. But with the changeover in terms of the roster, how important was that time away to integrate guys? And because last year it seemed like everybody was, it was a tight group, and so now you bring in new faces. How do you maintain that?
Yeah, it's similar to what I've done each year, and we always have. I always have competition day, and put them in 4 teams, and this isn't just the players, this is the staff as well. Even John Gass got involved, and what was your game you played? Swimmer, backstroke. So we had quite a few games, and I come up with a quiz, and at the end of it, the ones who win the points tally, they go out for dinner, treated by me and Zoran, and the losers have to go and then put a show on for us. And John Gass was in the losing team and put a very good show on in the swimming pool with their YMCA. So it was.
Is there a video of this?
There may be one floating around, but I think it's really important, that you get everybody together, and people talk to people that they don't normally talk to, and that's what I see of building a culture and a team spirit. And I think we've come away from there a stronger group. All bonded in well together. Apart from, there's a few questions over some of my quiz questions, but I was the one in charge, so my answer stood.
And we asked Tim when he was in here before you about first game and the juices, the butterflies, the anticipation, that sort of thing. You've been doing this a long time, player, coach. Do you still get those?
Yeah, there's still an excitement about that first game. Whether it's excitement, trepidation, I don't know what, but for me it's still excitement. That's why I love doing the job. You've worked really hard during pre-season. You've got a lot of minutes into their legs, physically, tactically, technically, and psychologically as well. And it's then trying to put it together and making sure it all comes together for a match day. And we'll grow as the season goes, but that first game is one that you want to put in a performance.
Willie? Just kind of following up on what Jorge asked about St. Louis, your first 3 opponents are somewhat unfamiliar, Western Conference opponents, and I know, again, I'm not trying to, you're only looking at St. Louis now, but just broadly, what kind of a different challenge is that for you, knowing that there is a bit of unfamiliarity with those opening 3?
Yeah, I said before, the fixture list in this country froze me. I mean, you can go 2 West Coast teams away or 2 Western Conference teams away, and then you're at home for 5 games, and then you go away for 5 games. So I do find that a little bit strange. But again, going to Coachella's helped me because, I saw Austin play Galaxy as well. So there's been plenty of games there where you got to see opposition that you don't normally see every week.
In terms of just, I know you don't necessarily use outside motivation or what the pundits say to fuel you, but in terms of this year, a lot's been said about a lot of the other teams, and it doesn't feel like Charlotte gets a lot of the chit-chat. From your chance perspective, how much do you feel like you guys can make some noise in this season?
It's not about making noise for me. It's about going and challenging and being one of them teams that's constantly in, whether it's semi-finals or top four of the conference. That's what motivates me. Not what somebody's going to say about me or my team. Frankly, I couldn't care less.
We'll go to Jorge and then Steve.
Where have you felt like you've grown and improved as a coach here in your, during your time here?
I think I've had to balance how I coach a little bit more. If you're in the Premier League, you're guaranteed you've got to have good players. And I'm not saying there's not good players here, but there's a certain standard that even your minimal player is. But in the way the salary structure is set here, you can have 3 or 4 DPs, which can be elite players, but you can also have draft picks in the same squad as them. So you've got to make sure you coach and cater them elite players, but also improve and develop these players as well. So I think that side of it, sometimes I'm an elite coach coaching elite players, and sometimes I'm going back to me under 18, under 21 days of coaching as well, all in one session.
Steve?
Are you on schedule with where you wanted to be with this team at this point, or are you behind, ahead?
Well, we haven't won anything yet, so I'm disappointed that we haven't, been in, as I say, cup competitions. But the progression certainly in the conference has been good, I think, for us as a club. We felt disappointed that we probably didn't finish higher than 4th last year. So the aim is to be better than that. But the growth of the players, the evolution of the team, is probably where it should be.
And just professionally, as far as making the decision to come here, is it what you expected to be? Has it exceeded that?
I think this club has grown as well and become a real professional unit in terms of what it wants to be. The way the players are looked after, the way the performance team works behind the scenes, and the staff work behind the scenes. It's pushing to become an elite environment, because it's tough to become an elite environment. You need elite players, and you need to be constantly challenging yourself every day, every week. But that's what we aim to be.
Brian, and then we'll wrap up with Carol.
Dean, now that you've been in MLS for a few years, are there any other clubs in MLS that have really impressed you in terms of their ability to kind of find sustained success year over year? And it's something that you've preached for what you want from Charlotte. Is there any other clubs that really have impressed you in that manner?
I don't think you can't be impressed with Miami and what they've done in the 3 years, but they've got a little wizard that's helped them do that as well. There's not many teams that can call on Harry Potter to help you, go and win things. But they've lost 2 magnificent players this season, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do without Jordi Alba and Busquets as well this season. But what they have done has been impressive. Columbus, what they were doing before, and then they dropped off it last season a little bit. Cincinnati are always there or thereabouts, and Seattle, I think, they've been impressive in what I've seen so far.
Carol?
Tim just sat here and said that he saw Schnegg pushing Toffolo a little bit. Is that something you see as well?
Yeah, definitely. Toff missed a couple of weeks training as well with a niggle, which has probably hampered him a little bit. But I think David Schnegg coming in is always going to, make players like Toff look over the shoulders.
Are you gonna come back with more lyrics and tease us this year in the middle?
No, I've not slipped any in there today. There's always time. I might come up with something this season.
Let it be.
Let it be. Yeah.
We got one with Will
I was
Giddens.
I was surprised how I got Strawberry Fields into it. My God.
Well, that one stuck out.
Go ahead, Will.
Hi Dean, thanks for your time. Will Gittins. Just another question on Luca de la Torre. You mentioned the quality that he brings and maybe the kind of different options that he offers you this season. With that in mind, is he a player you think will have a big impact from the start? Or is it maybe going to be a bit of a slow burner where him and teammates need a bit of time to adapt?
I think all teams need, all players, new players that come in need a little bit of adaptation time. But he seems like he understands the game really well. From what I've seen speaking to him, he definitely understands the tactical side of the game. But he's just watching him for the first 3 or 4 weeks. He was doing things that, I'd seen, San Diego, the way San Diego play. So certain things are different to the way we will play, certainly without the ball. So, there's been a coaching effort in that. But no, I think he can hit the ground running from the start.
Perfect. Dean, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.